Hi, I apologize for my late video. So to get right into it, week 8 was all about conflict within the workplace, and conflict is pretty much when there's a disagreement amongst employees. Either they have different interests, they're doing work differently, or they don't agree on how to get a task done. It can also be due to personal beliefs, personal issues going on, and people respond to conflict differently all the time. Some people can get very aggressive, very heads-on. Some people might take the back seat and not want any conflict and kind of just brush it under the rug or just agree to get the conflict over with. I also feel like conflict, it happens in every workplace, no matter how much you and your coworkers, you and your employer get along, there's bound to be conflict on something. And the conflict may not be a drastic thing, but there's still conflict there. One time, actually recently, that there was conflict within my workplace was about the rooms we are assigned to clean. I believe that I discussed this before. So there are now 5 medical assistants and we have 7 rooms. So prior, when we each have to stock rooms and make sure everything the doctor needs is going to be in there, and we do like a weekly sheet and do an overstock, update the inventory list. So when we first made that the case, the rooms were kind of just given to us, but the rooms were chosen by employees, same playing field. So one of the girls that was helping choose the rooms, she was one who was also going to have a room. So right off the bat, it was just kind of not a fair assignment. So me and my other 2 coworkers, there's 2 rooms that are our surgical rooms, and they dual as a regular room. So me and her both got assigned one of the surgical rooms, and then we got a second room, and everyone else just had 1 room. So me and her had 2 rooms, and arguably one of the harder rooms to always have to keep stocked and make sure if you're going in there for a procedure, everything's in there. So as it was going, one of the rooms, an employee quit. We hired a new one on. She took that room of the employee who left, and then we hired another one on. Girl got fired, and she took over the room of the girl that got fired. So it worked out, the rotating circle of it. But then the one girl, she went on maternity leave, so now no one is assigned to one of these rooms. It was getting too complicated and too much turnover of whose room is whose and who's doing what. So then it got to a point where we all still have our rooms again. Me and that one coworker still have our double rooms. And then there was a random switch. This one girl gave someone that's still new to the company, she's like, hey, let's switch these rooms. You take 1, I'll take 5. And room 1's the easier room. No one's really ever in there. We do video visits. It's not really a stalking issue. And it just kept unfolding how unfair this is and how the providers, they feel like their rooms weren't stocked, we weren't doing it enough. And it became like a daily kind of fight of, hey, you took stuff out of my room's not stocked, and I think you took it. It was getting very silly. So last week, me and my other coworker actually talked to our manager and said, hey, we want this to get switched. It's not working. There's too many arguments. The rooms aren't being properly filled, and it's hindering the doctors and the patient's experience. So we decided, take matters in our own hands, come up with a solution, and we reassigned all the rooms. We put all the room numbers on popsicle sticks, and we put the 2 easier rooms, the 2 rooms that we don't really use as much, off to the side for a sec. The 5 of us all picked a room, and it was whoever got one of the surgical rooms. That was their only room. They're out of the second drawing, and the second drawing was now for the 2 easier rooms, and then a 3rd popsicle stick that just had nothing on it. So the other 3 employees that did not have a surgical room, that already picked a room, repicked and got a second room, or got lucky and only has 1 room. And it was so much easier. Yes, there are still 2 employees with 2 rooms where everyone else has 1, but it was just an easier flow. One of the girls was still upset about it because she didn't get the easiest room that she wanted. So she was upset about it, but at the end of the day, management approved it. Everyone else was happy with it, and everyone kind of stopped complaining. Now we have our new assignments into this week. It's going so much smoother. No one's talking about the rooms. The providers aren't mad that nothing's stocked, and it just is more cohesive. So I am happy how we had the conflict, but we got over it. We came to a solution that we all agreed on, and now it's implemented and it's working. So I do feel like conflict in the workplace can be beneficial. Obviously, no one wants conflict, but conflict can bring forth change. There was something that wasn't working with the rooms. Yes, the conflict of us fighting with each other and getting mad at each other, that's negative. But now we have a solution that we came up with. Hey, let's do it this way. It's a fair pick. No one's like mad at someone else for choosing a room that they wanted. And it created opportunity for us to discuss, talk to each other, come up with ideas, and see what works, which in the workplace can definitely be beneficial. You might be fighting with a team member because you think the project should go one way, but they think another. You are so certain that yours is the best, but then if you hear them out, you might realize that they have great ideas to bring to the table that you wouldn't have thought of or you didn't want to do. So I do think conflict can be helpful as long as it's handled correctly and not just brushed under the rug. I know that's some ways people deal with conflict is, let's just agree, if you want it this way, let's have it that way. I don't think that can always be beneficial. Yes, you don't want to hurt people's feelings, but you want to do your best. I think it's important to always put your best foot forward, and if you really believe that something's right, fight for it. Try to prove why it's right, and you might realize even more that this is the idea you want, this is the great idea. Or you might realize, hey, wait, there is a flaw in this now that I'm talking it out and having a conversation with someone with a different view or a different opinion. So I do think it has a place in the workplace as long as it's handled correctly. Thank you for listening.